Dr. James Dixon, pastor of the Community of Faith Church in Houston, Texas, Vice President of the Houston NAACP, Chair of Criminal Justice, founder of One Family, One Future. Here today, in the name of George Floyd, for the day that former officer Chauvin put his knee on the neck of George Floyd, the last words we hear him saying, "I cannot breathe, I can't breathe, I can't breathe." When George Floyd said, "I can't breathe," he was saying, "I can't breathe" for 400 years of oppressive brutality against black Americans. For 400 years, from the bottom of slave ships, we cannot breathe. Through Jim Crow, we cannot breathe. Through the lynchings, we cannot breathe. Through mass incarceration, we cannot breathe. Through undereducation, miseducation, we cannot breathe. Through economic disparity, the economic wealth gap, we cannot breathe. Low health care, we cannot breathe. Food deserts in our communities, we cannot breathe. Neglect of the ghetto, we cannot breathe. So we're standing on the corner of Wind Farm by CUNY Homes where George Floyd grew up, because we cannot breathe. And there's still children here today in CUNY Homes who cannot breathe, choked by poverty and police brutality and the instrumentality of a system that systematically oppresses and distresses those who are of darker skin. We cannot breathe. We have never been able to breathe, and George Floyd's "I can't breathe" was on behalf of all of those who look like me and others who still cannot breathe. But when Chauvin put his knee on the neck of George Floyd to push him down in death, he had no idea what would rise up. He had no idea that a message would rise, that a movement would rise. He had no idea that George Floyd would rise in Australia. George Floyd would rise in South America. George Floyd would rise in Europe. George Floyd would rise in Houston, in Chicago, in LA, in Detroit. George Floyd would rise in uptown, downtown, midtown, ghetto. George Floyd is still rising, and he's rising now, speaking louder than ever. "I can't breathe" was a whisper, but "I will breathe" is a shout. We're shouting to America today that we will no longer say we can't breathe. We will breathe for George Floyd. We'll breathe justice. We'll breathe righteousness. We'll breathe equality. We'll breathe until every child, black child, brown child, poor child in America has a right and access to everything that the best of America has to offer. And as you celebrate the 4th of July, the birth of a nation, you ought to celebrate the death of an oppressive nation and the resurrection of a just nation. And what does a just nation look like? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. said, "Justice is what love looks like in public." And so until there's justice, ain't no love. Until there is love, there is no celebration of the 4th of July as the birth of a nation. I'm celebrating the 4th of July as the death of an oppressive America. You ought to join me, because George Floyd said, "I cannot breathe." And every American, white, black, and brown, ought to stand together to say, we must breathe. We must breathe. We must breathe so that children in the ghetto can get a PhD. We must breathe so that those who are locked up in jail because they don't have $500 for a bail can get out and live the life of the dignity. We must breathe until every person sick can have health care. We must breathe until the White House matches the dope house and loves those in the poorhouse. We must breathe. We must breathe so loudly. We must speak so loudly until George Floyd's death is absolutely dignified. We stand on the corner because Big Floyd went down. We rise up. And we'll rise, we'll rise, we'll rise, we'll rise. And we'll rise against every person, every policy, and every principle that devalues humanity in any color, in any sphere. We are not going away. We will keep on rising. Big Floyd, in your name, we stand today to say we shall breathe and we shall rise. Chauvin, you messed up. You knelt on the wrong neck. But today, America, get your knee off our neck. Let God's people go. We've got engineers in the ghetto. Let God's people go. We got COVID researchers in the ghetto. Let God's people go. In black, there is greatness, and all lives matter. And so Black Lives Matter. We shall breathe and we shall rise.
He was born in North haven't sinned. Whoa, grew up in Houston. He's been busy ever since. It's been a long time coming, but I know change is gonna come. Yes, it will. Whoa, it's been too hard living, but he didn't have to die. 'Cause George Floyd didn't hurt nobody. He was trying to comply. It's been a long time coming, but I know change is gonna come. Yes, it will. He didn't want no trouble. They had him down on the ground. It was all over $20. Why did the laws even have to come around? It's been a long time coming, but I know a change is gonna come. Yes, it will. Listen, I can hear him call his mother, saying, "Mother, help me, please." 'Cause he knew every time that he called his mother, mother would immediately get down on her knees. Oh, he said, "I can't breathe. I won't last for long." Right now he's resting in peace. Somehow we gotta carry on. It's been a long time coming, but I know change is gonna come. Oh, yes, it will. I said a change gonna come. I know it will. I believe it will change. I said a change. Yes, it will. Change gonna come. I know it will. I believe it will. Change gonna come. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Yes, it will. Change is gonna come. I know it will. I believe it will. I said a change. I know a change gon' come.